She had taken only 12 steps down the aisle when Max suddenly walked out from the right side of the church and stopped directly in front of her, blocking her path so firmly that every person in the room inhaled at the same time. The music faltered, the guests stiffened, and a wave of confusion spread through the hall as Emma's heart slammed against her ribs. In all the years she had lived with her German Shepherd, she had never seen him behave like this. Max had always been calm, observant, loyal, and exceptionally well trained. Yet here he stood, refusing to let her take another step toward the man waiting at the altar. Emma tightened her grip on her bouquet as voices whispered from every direction. Friends glanced nervously around, her bridesmaids exchanged uncertain looks, and her mother covered her lips with trembling fingers as she tried to understand what was happening. Emma stared at Max, expecting him to wag his tail or move aside. But instead, his body remained stiff, and his focus stayed locked onto Daniel. It wasn't mischief. It wasn't excitement. It was something far deeper, something protective, something urgent. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like, repost, or share, and subscribe. And I'm really curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Back to the story. She forced herself to breathe and whispered his name carefully, trying to coax him back. Max had never ignored her voice before, but he didn't look away. His chest rose and fell with a tense rhythm, and when Emma took a small step forward, he shifted to block her again, this time letting out a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the silent church. The sound pierced her in a way she wasn't prepared for. Max never growled in public. He never growled at guests, and he certainly never growled at someone he had seen dozens of times before. Daniel laughed awkwardly in an attempt to ease the tension, lifting his hands as if the entire situation was a silly misunderstanding. He told everyone that Max was probably nervous or overwhelmed by the ceremony. Yet the moment he tried to step closer, Max's growl deepened, and his stance became even more defensive. Emma watched the quick flicker of annoyance cross Daniel's features before he forced another smile. It lasted only a second, but it was long enough for Emma's stomach to twist. Suddenly, feeling rose in her chest like a tide she had held back for too long. Max had been trying to warn her for months, but she had brushed it off, telling herself she was overthinking, telling herself love meant patience, telling herself it was normal for relationships to have difficult moments. Yet Max had reacted every single time Daniel's behavior crossed a line she refused to see clearly. The night Daniel returned home smelling faintly of a woman's perfume and blamed it on a crowded elevator, Max had barked endlessly at him. When Daniel snapped at her during an argument and gripped her arm hard enough to leave marks, Max stood between them like a wall. Emma had tried to excuse everything, believing stress and wedding pressure were affecting him. But deep down, she knew those were excuses she wanted to believe, because the truth would hurt too much. Now, standing in front of 100 people with her wedding dress glowing under the warm church lights, that truth refused to stay buried. Her breath shook as she asked Daniel, in a tone she barely recognized, why her dog looked terrified of him. Daniel tried to dismiss her, but she did not look away. She studied his eyes, searching for the honesty she had convinced herself he had. Yet what she found instead was fear, irritation, and something darker lurking beneath the charm he wore like a suit. Max took another step forward, his body angled protectively, and Emma instinctively placed a hand on his back. His muscles were tight under her fingers, and she could feel the tremor running through him. This wasn't disobedience. This was desperation. Max was trying to save her from something she had been too blinded to acknowledge. Emma's voice steadied as she confronted Daniel again. The room felt heavy, like every breath hung suspended in the air. She reminded him of moments he had brushed aside, moments that suddenly made perfect, painful sense. Daniel tried to argue, but Max barked sharply, causing him to flinch. And for the first time, the entire audience saw the way Daniel's expression twisted with anger before he quickly tried to mask it. But it was too late. That one unfiltered second revealed everything Max had sensed months before. Emma felt her world tilt as the truth finally crashed over her. Max had been protecting her from a man she almost married. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't nerves. It wasn't bad timing. It was the quiet, instinctive warning of an animal who loved her more genuinely than the man she had chosen. Her eyes stung as she slowly set her bouquet down on the floor, letting it fall softly against the polished tiles. The room fell into complete silence. Daniel took a step toward her, pleading now, saying she was overreacting, that she was ruining everything, that she'd regret throwing away this moment. But Emma no longer felt confused. She felt awake. For the first time in months, maybe even years, she felt her mind clear and her heart speak louder than her fear. She told him she could rebuild a canceled wedding, but she could not rebuild a life with a man her dog feared. She said she trusted the creature who had never lied to her more than the man who had lied repeatedly while pretending to love her. Daniel's voice rose in frustration, but she did not let him finish. She took Max by the collar and walked past everyone, each step feeling like a step out of a cage she hadn't known she was trapped inside. When she stepped outside, sunlight hit her face, warm and grounding, as Max leaned against her leg. She knelt beside him with tears on her cheeks, not of heartbreak, but of relief. She hugged him tightly and finally understood the magnitude of what he had done. He didn't just stop her from making a mistake. He saved her from a lifetime of emotional damage. He pulled her out before she tied herself to a man who broke trust the way other people broke habits. A long exhale left her chest as she kissed Max's forehead and whispered that she should have trusted him long ago. He looked up at her with soft, loyal eyes. And in that moment, Emma realized that sometimes the greatest love in life doesn't come from a person. Sometimes it comes from a heart that beats behind fur. From a companion who sees the truth long before we do. From a friend who would risk everything just to keep us safe. Her wedding was over, but her future had just been saved. And for the first time in a long time, she felt strong, steady, and unafraid to walk away from anything that didn't feel like love. Because love should never feel like fear, and Max had made sure she finally understood that.
If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll past, repost and share it with someone who believes in loyalty, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Let this moment be heard. Tap the like button if you believe every hero deserves to be remembered. Drop a comment with a "if you've ever loved an animal like family." And don't forget to follow or subscribe for more powerful true stories that stay with you long after they end.